Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We're so honored that you could make it. Thank you for joining us on this webinar, Embracing Graceful Aging. Today promises to be very interesting and exciting, and I am personally looking forward to it. So before we start, before I introduce our guest, we're going to show you a very short infomercial so that you get to know a little bit about Dagomo, who we are and what we do. Can you please show that video clip now? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. Good morning once again. My name is Titilola Park, and I am Chief Program Officer of Dagomo Foundation. So joining us in the discourse today, we have Rosalind Kihumba joining us from Kenya. Rosalind is the International and Regional Policies Coordinator at Help Age International. Help Age International is an international nonprofit that helps older people claim their rights, challenge discrimination, and overcome poverty so that they can lead dignified, secure, active, and healthy lives. So you can see the synergy between Help Age and Dagomo right there, because Dagomo is all about promoting the voice of the unheard and the elderly in particular as a focus area for beginning. So Rosalind is also the co-chair of the Stakeholder Group on Aging, which is an African coalition bringing together individuals, society organizations, and academia to engage SDGs and promote inclusion and rights of older people. Rosalind, you're welcome. Once again, to everyone joining us, we say good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from. Now, Rosalind, I'm going to be asking you a couple of questions, and ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. We want to make this as interactive as possible. So Rosalind, we want to learn about how to age gracefully. And from my side, one of the feedback I got while inviting people to come for this program was people were telling me that, hey, I'm young, I'm not old. I don't need to know about gracefully aging just yet. So what do you have to say about that? Is this something that is for a particular age group? For those of us who are young and young at heart, how do you pitch this to us? Is this something we should really be talking about now?
Yes, thank you very much for that question, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to be with you all. Aging is what I really like talking about, and yes, we should be talking about aging gracefully. not just in terms of our physical, appearance, in terms of retaining our youthfulness, but also in terms of how can we continue being useful members of society. I guess that's what also we should be talking about. How can we ensure that we remain, people feel, they feel good about aging, but also they are also able to present attitudes towards older people that they are still useful and in a respectful way, and enjoying being with them. I think those are some of the components we should be talking about, not just in terms of our physical appearance. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rosaline. How did you get into this aging space, so to speak? You as the person, what was your journey like?
It was actually by accident, because not by accident, but also an opportunity it gave me to grow my career. So at one point, I had just worked in one organization. It was called, now it's being called Practical Action. And in that organization, what they were promoting is for us as development partners to begin from small things. That person who wrote the book, Small is Beautiful, the Schumacher. Small is beautiful. So in that organization, they really valued starting from where people are, starting from the knowledge and the capacity.
Wrong.
From small, meaning that they really did appreciate what people had and supporting them to build from where they are. So when I saw the position, when I entered in HelpAge in 2003, that position was around program officer, and they were supposed to be, design programs around how we can ensure that, older people are, issues of older people are being promoted in 2003. And that really excited me. And when I went for the interview, I really liked what they were doing then. And then HelpAge was just focusing on small researches to know what are older people facing around, for instance, HIV, because by then that is when the HIV was hitting here in East Africa and South Africa. So we really needed a solution for that, because it's older people who are taking care of the sick and the children that were being left before even ARV came on board. And also there were issues around witchcraft accusation. There were issues around nutrition of older person. So that really excited me to start, getting to really understand what is aging and what are our older people going through and what can be done. So that is really what how my career grew in terms of older people, let's say what we are calling aging development at the moment.
Thank you, Rosaline. Can I please request that you adjust your screen, because we can only see half of your face?
Is
okay,
that
that's
better?
better. That's no, a little more, a little more, a little more, a little lower. Yes, I think this is fine. Uh-oh. Is it when you tilt it, we see your face, but I think when you let go, it flips back, so we don't see your face anymore.
Okay, let me just go back to the screen so that I see how I am.
Yes, that would be great. Okay, so while you make the adjustment, you talked about the issue of discrimination against older persons and stigmatization. But before we go into that, can you please just tell us, what exactly is graceful aging? What is aging and what is graceful aging? What's the concept all about?
So, so maybe in a professional term, we don't usually use graceful aging because that's more of like you're trying to persuade people or try yourself to age in a situation where you are the only support mechanism to to age gracefully. But when we are talking about aging, aging starts from the time you are born. So that's the time you begin aging. So every minute, every hour you are in this world, you're actually aging. And when you age, you pass through various stages in life. As a as an infant, a toddler, then an adolescent, then you go to the middle stage until you grow, now in the older stage at 70, 60, 100. But as you age, you are also passing through various experiences. For instance, if I was born in, let's say, in a pastoral area, let's say if I was born in Kaduna, let me say that because I've gone there. There are experiences you go through. For instance, there is a drought, and you have to fight for that. Maybe there is less opportunity for education. You have to go through that as well. There are issues to do with the violence. Let's say the Boko Haram, they would disrupt many things around your education. They may also even affect you in terms of maybe your parents may die because of so those experiences is also what must also count in your aging, because you will go with that history. And if you were lucky, you were born in a family that, let's say, maybe your parent was an expatriate, it means that your life would be so swift. You would get better education or even get a better job. But at the same time, you are aging. So that's how what we term as aging, because you're going through a series of issues, a series of experiences of which are maybe opportunities, but also advantages and disadvantages. So yeah, that is what is aging.
Thank you. So in essence, you're saying aging starts right from conception throughout the life cycle. And then
Yes.
you're also saying that the different circumstances that prevail or the environments we find ourselves in through the course of life also impact on our aging. Great. So you mentioned that one of the inspirations for you getting into this space, or what encouraged you, what motivated you, was the issue of stigmatization. I know that it is being said that of all the prejudices, race, and ageism, it is said that ageism is more prevalent. But can we quickly talk about stigmatization? What has been your experience in the course of your journey, and how have you been able to mitigate those issues that you face?
Yes, across, since I began working, and now I will not talk about my experience because maybe this is the time maybe I will be starting to experience ageism in terms of my career. As soon as you hit your 40s, that is when you now find difficulties in maneuvering yourself within the career. But now let me talk about experiences I've collected throughout the period I've worked on issues of older people, what the older people feel. And as an as areas they experience stigmatization and what we are calling ageism, the stereotypes. And I could begin from the health sector, because that's also a major area that our older person really need, but they really find a lot of barriers to access, equitable, but also proper healthcare. And from what I hear our older people, and which is also documented, is that when they visit healthcare system, usually they are told that maybe they are just old, they are feeling bad because they are old. And that means that from that stage, when our own healthcare workers feel that aging or being an older person is one of the reasons why our older people are not feeling well in terms of their health, then it means there is a problem, because right there, then it would mean that our older people will not be examined. They will not be examined, they will not be tested to really know exactly what are they ailing of. And that is the starting point. So meaning that it means that once they're told that way, then it would mean then their health-seeking behavior also changes. They will not now then be going to health services, isn't it? That's also a major problem. So that it means that they will continue staying at home without seeking medical services. And that means, again, complicating, because we know at that point, that is when our older people, maybe they have high blood pressure, they have arthritis, they have diabetics, and you can imagine a combination of those, just those three diseases, and I know they could even be having 4 or 5. You can imagine the consequences of, I'm not a medical doctor, but the consequences of staying with pressure and diabetic at the same time without getting treatment. You can imagine what it can do. That has an implication that older person may easily die or even get more complication. And you can imagine that with the health system as it is, that all the non-communicable diseases related to older person are not covered by the health sector. So it means that the burden of treating that older person is squarely on on the family member. That is a huge burden. But let me go to the other side, where the healthcare workers who are meant to actually ensure that the population is well taken care of, and they have a bad attitude about the older person. It means that it would mean from there they will make sure that automatically that the health services are not sensitive to the issues of older people. They will make sure that the health policies, budgeting, the system, everything also does not favor our older person. It would mean that subsequently will sustain a healthcare system that does not include older person, meaning that eventually even that's why we are also having issues. We don't have specialized health personnel who are focusing on issues of older person. And you can attest, even here in Kenya, we only have 1 doctor, and I know in Nigeria, you only have 5 over a population of so many older person. So that's what it means. But let's go to a community level. Maybe, can I get more time? I just explain what I mean about
Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Please go ahead. Yeah.
So look at, let me start from family level, where we feel that our older people are staying longer, and we, the young people, need to control the little inheritance that has remained. So it means that then from there, there are issues to do with we, the younger people, taking over the decisions that, especially related to what older people own, but also at that point also we also take over the decisions related to, let's say, I'm a good example. For instance, when I'm born in the western side of the country, and I know there my mom can't get a good health care system. So what I do in my own decision, I actually go pick her and bring her to the capital so that they can get, he can get a better medication. But at first, I never got to explain to her that why I have to transfer her to Nairobi, then back to where she stays. That is also taking over decisions that also meant we need to make sure that when we are making such decisions, we are also involving our older person so that they are really making decision whether do they really want to come all the way or should they stay where they are. So those are some of the things that we are saying that even at family level, we have already differentialized the role of older people to take control of their decision and make their decision. And further, I don't know how true it is in Nigeria, but that is also the beginning of this issue we are seeing around property issues for older person. That's where we are seeing the witchcraft accusation, because the underlying, and we have done a study here in Kenya, underlying cause of witchcraft usually is around the land related, property related, so that we can just get out of, we can get our older people out of the way. But generally in community, even though we keep on saying that we do really value our older person and respect them, ideally, that is not what we put in practice because of those underlying feelings that our older people, their time has gone, they are occupying jobs that the youth are holding. Those are stigmatization, because if that is what I keep on seeing, you know, our lecturers, our lawyers, you know, they are taking over the jobs that the youth would want. And yet we know for sure it's the way our policies are that is either disadvantaging the older people or the young people. What the government needs to do is just to expand this the spectrum of opportunities so that all the ages are able to fit within. Because
so you just hold that thought for a minute, please. We're going to come into the policy section. But just to take a few comments from the chat box. Somebody said, okay, Orade says that, yes, I saw an older lady the other day who told me her insurance stopped providing her coverage due to her age. So coming back to the ageism conversation, which is around the way we think about aging, in fact, affecting how we feel and ultimately how we act towards older persons. So that is the concept of ageism. And you're very right. I think there's a lot of similarities between Kenya and Nigeria when it comes to how older people just assume, oh, it's because of old age, but I think we are trying to create awareness around that, and the fact that the older persons can have multiple illnesses at the same time, which is called comorbidity, if I'm not mistaken. So that is very correct. And also talking about decision making at the family level, we will talk some more about that, because we may tend to think that older persons are somehow incapable of making the right decisions just because of their age, and that in itself is ageism, and I completely agree with you. So we're going to go next into what you think, what your recommendations are, so that we can change that. So there's another comment from Dr. Doherty. She says, We have more than 5 geriatric doctors now, or gerontologists now, because we are now training geriatrics in Nigeria. So we have more than 5, Rosalind. So Nigeria is getting better, and it's getting quite popular, that specialty in medicine. Also, another comment says that older people and people caring for them may contribute to symptoms of old age and not seek help. That is very correct. For us in Nigeria, healthcare is really a personal responsibility. I'm not so sure we have so many insurance coverage. Healthcare schemes for older persons, and someone is also making instead starts when they see the older persons. Agomo is trying to contribute to changing this narrative around older persons. So can you please bring that video up very quickly before we go into the discussion further?
Yes, coming.
Sir, this is the first you requested for.
Well, drop it there.
Sir, is everything alright?
Oh, nothing.
Your mood doesn't look it. It says the opposite.
Yeah. It's my mom.
I hope she's okay, sir.
She keeps complaining of being lonely. And I want to bring her from the village, but nothing has changed. It's still the same thing. It's not like I can quit my job, to be with her.
But sir, have you not heard of the Dagomo Foundation?
What's that Foundation?
It's a foundation for the elderly.
In this Nigeria?
Yes, sir. At the Dagomo Foundation, they have the weekly checkup, weekly fitness program, weekly medical consultation. They even have adult education program. And above all, she can make friends with the elderly.
Wow.
Yes. Ooh. Sir, where are you rushing to?
I'm going to give my mother the good news.
For more information, visit www.dagomo.com.
Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you for spending time with us, and I hope you found that very useful. So what we've highlighted there is what we call the Grace Onaiwu Omoigui Eldercare Center. So this is an intervention that provides like a daycare for older persons. They come here every day of the week, and they hang out basically with their peers. And they have also other opportunities to relax, to learn, to get to know each other, and whatever they want to do, get a massage here and there. So right now we have that in Edo State, states all around the world. Okay, so I'm also going to take another comment from Fola, just to mention that there are some senior citizens insurance plans on the market. Okay, so there are some, which is great, for ages 51 to 85. So that's fantastic. However, the plans tend to attract higher premiums, understandably so, but it's really welcome news that we do have that here available. Hygia HMO Senior Plan is one of the examples. So, Rosalind, coming back to you now, please everyone, do continue to put your comments and your questions in the chat box. So Rosalind, coming back to you, I would like to ask, in terms of interventions to change this narrative and to empower older persons, what are your recommendations? That's number one, and let's hear your recommendations first, and then we'll look at how successful they may have been if they have been implemented in Kenya, for example.
Yeah, so the issue, and which is now increasingly being sorted out with more organization coming on board in terms of contributing to aging. When I came on board in 2003, there were almost very few or none, apart from HelpAge and the small organizations they were trying to mentor across the various countries in Africa. But we are lucky now, more organizations are coming up to build this voice that is needed, but also doing research and also making sure that they're engaging the policy arena. So one of our major major gap that are remaining at the moment is how do we coordinate ourselves now that we have many institutions talking about issues of older people, which we had not had for a while. But we are happy that in the last 5 years or 6, we've seen quite a lot of people who are capable from universities, the academia, the research institutions, coming on board to really speak and also giving valuable data. Even now, we still have very huge gaps around the data that is needed now to inform our campaigns as civil society, but also data that is needed for us to support positioning or repositioning of the policies and the legal framework. But the major gap at the moment is the voice, a coordinated voice that is well organized and able to articulate the issues of older people, and who are also capable of sustaining constructive discussions at all levels, at community level, at a sub-national level, national level, sub-regional like now ECOWAS, and continental. But the other gap is around how are we organizing our older person? Do they really understand what their rights are? At national level, do they know their constitutional rights? What are their spaces of engagement? Are they participating and contributing to decision-making process? Do they have the right voice? Our older people are not organized. They are not brought together so that they can have what is that collective voice that can really demand change. Are they, even when they have a collective voice, who are they talking to? Who are they challenging? That is where we need them to go. Because if they don't engage the policymakers, they are not in discussion. For instance, if there is the state plans, are they engaging the plans? Because that is where decisions are made, which priority programs are being planned for the citizens. Are they in that discussion? Are they positioning themselves to be in the right technical committees, the community committees? I know, like in Kenya, we have a health committee, security committee, all that. Are we positioning ourselves? Are we also in the various discussions in terms of making sure that we are in different conversation at the same time? Because if we just remain in one conversation, and we know that our older people are needed in every sector, when environment discussions are being made, are we able to pitch our issues of older people, and our older people with us, and do they really understand what they need to push for, and to push for in a conversation around climate change, around environment, around urbanization, around health? So those are some of the areas that we need to, some of the things that in the course of my work we need to position ourselves as older people institutions, but also as our older person, also support empowering our older people to be in the right places. Thank you.
Okay, so that's interesting. I hear you that you have a lot of community level interventions is what I heard. So I'm thinking, do you have any like a national policy, any at the national level? Is there anything that is any framework or any policy that is empowering older persons to begin with?
Maybe let me start at international level. In 2003 and 2, the member states around 169 agreed on the Madrid Plan of Action on Aging. That is the framework that really supports us to, supports us at national level to guide what kind of legal frameworks and policy frameworks we need to have in place. And now there is that discussion around the legal framework which is coordinated by open-ended working group. I hope you have heard it. So for us as older people at international level, we don't have a legal framework apart from that guiding framework, the MIPA. At a regional level, we are very lucky because in 2002, we had the AU policy framework on aging, in action, which was formulated then. And in 2010, they began the legal framework, which was adopted in 2016. That is the AU policy, protocol on the rights of older persons. So in Africa, at least we are far ahead than most of the region, even though the Inter-American, they already have their framework. So these frameworks are the ones that are meant to support us in terms of keeping our governments to account, because they were part of those discussions, and particularly so the African protocol on the rights of older persons. When I stop talking, I will show the link where the legal framework is. And this is the time we are meant to push our governments to ratify, to sign, ratify, domesticate, and implement the protocol. And that is the basis of us now as a civil society to actually educate our older person what the articles mean, and what is the implication on that in terms of at national level, what must we see in terms of aging agenda, but also what must we see in terms of mainstreaming issues of older people in the national agenda, but also in the sector specific as we move down at state level and then lower at sub-national and even at local level. So that's what can provide the framework of engagement. And the protocol is very clear that there is an article, I think 22, which speaks to the institutional frameworks that are meant to be at national level and continental level. We are meant to have an aging council at national level. We are meant to have a coordination mechanism that is multi-sectorial. So those are some of the things we need to push at a national level, and to ensure that, for instance, the federal government has this mechanism in place, and particularly within the ministry that is responsible for issues of older person. Thank you.
Thank you. So I like how you how in Kenya you guys are not waiting on the government for everything. Whilst pushing from the top, you're also taking the bottom-up approach from the community level and integrating the voices of the older persons across all sectors. So it has to be multilateral, multi-sectoral. Everybody has a role to play. Allow me for a minute, Dan Ohimwe, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Dan, my colleague, National Program Coordinator for Dagomo Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about what is happening in Nigeria at the national level in terms of policy and the role Dagomo or civil society is playing, if any? Can you please talk a little bit to that?
All right, thank you, Mrs. Park, for that. And also thank you, Rosalind. I've been very much impacted by what you have been saying. Yeah, in Nigeria, I think not quite different, but I must recognize the voice of the coalition, which is a COSROPing coalition for the rights of older persons. At the national level, we've been able to, at that coalition level, been able to come up with a draft policy on older persons, particularly actually the rights and privileges of older persons. That's a bill right now. It has been presented to the Senate, this present 8th Senate of the Nigerian House of Assembly, the National House of Assembly. And hopefully it has passed through several readings. The truth about it is that we are closer to the end of the tunnel than before. So at that level, there's a lot of lobbying taking place to ensure that that bill comes or sees the light of day. Also, there's a draft National Social Protection Policy, which was a draft as of 2016. Interestingly, that draft has, of recent, been taken up, and it is pushed by the Ministry of Budgeting and National Planning. So it was up to now a draft, but as at last week, it has received some level of attention. And again, COSROPing and Dagomo is part of that. At the state level here in Nigeria, in Edo State, it's interesting to know that Dagomo Foundation, in collaboration with other parties, CSOs, and the academia and the government, have been able to reach advanced stage in the production of an eldercare policy, which draws a lot of insights from international and local instruments. Rosalind talked about the international instruments as of 2002 and all other international instruments and national instruments too. So we have gotten to quite an advanced stage. This is not just by us alone, but thanks to the Edo State government and also other civil society and academic and even the medical space that have added their support to what we have done. So that's how far we've gone, and we hope for the best going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and that's correct. So the COSROPing is a coalition of societies for the rights of elder persons in Nigeria. I see Architect Yinka Williams, Lagos State representative of COSROPing here. Thank you for joining. So yes, at national level, we are pushing that bill. And also in Edo State, we've made a lot of traction really in sponsoring a similar bill at state level, which we will also look to replicate in other states. So looking at the chat box now, if anybody wants more information on the bill, we're happy to share with you. Please just let us know in the chat box and we will share a copy with you. Yes, so it's important to ensuring the rights of older persons in everything we do, not just in policy, in healthcare, in society, in the environment. So there's a whole framework around healthy aging. And it's interesting to note that the United Nations has declared this decade, 2020 to 2030, as the decade of healthy aging. And all countries are encouraged to look into that framework to create an aging-friendly environment for older persons. So at this point, can we quickly just take a poll? Would like to know your opinion regarding certain issues around aging. Would like to know what you think. Would like to know your thoughts. Research is always very important because it helps us to understand where to be channeling our efforts. So Stephanie, are you ready? You have the floor now, Stephanie. Are you ready? If you're not ready, let me know so that we can continue the question. Okay. All right, Stephanie, you have the floor. So 5 minutes, very quickly, please.
All right, good morning, everyone. At this moment, we'll be launching our polls, and we expect that every participant will be able to answer the questions as they come. So I would request my colleague, Mr. Luke Alade, to please pull up the poll so we can attempt to answer it. Thank you. Okay, so looking at your screen, you see the polls. We have 4 questions and there are options beside them. So we expect that everyone should participate in the polls. Just click on the questions, the options before you, and when you're done, ensure that you submit accordingly. So we have about a minute to answer these questions. If you're using your mobile device, just click the questions, the answers, press next, and ensure you submit at the end. Okay. We have 30 minutes left to answer our questions.
"30 seconds, actually, not 30 minutes.
Oh, pardon me, 30 seconds I meant. All right. Ten seconds left. Please, let's start rounding up and click submit when you're done. Okay, we're closing the polls now. Thank you very much. All right. I hope you can see the results from the poll. For the first question, we have, what in your opinion are the best barriers to embracing graceful aging? 37% of our respondents say lifestyle and behavior change. 11% say low income. 7% say social exclusion, and 52% say all of the above options. The next question says, which of the following do you consider the best graceful aging practice? The first option there, proper skincare. We have no response to that. Proper diet, we have 59% of respondents. Medical checkup shows 33% of respondents. All right, for question 3, at what age, in your opinion, should aging concerns be a priority? Majority of our respondents say any age, with 48%. 30% say 40 to 60 years. 19% say 60 to 80 years, and 4% say 80 and above. And the last question, who should promote graceful aging? Majority of respondents with 56% say the families. 37% say government, and 7% say NGOs. All right, thank you very much for participating in our polls. We really appreciate your responses. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. So we will be looking at the chat box to answer your questions. question here from Lola Adeleye, which says, thanks, Ring. How is this information for all is essential? So this is a question for Dagomo, and I'll take that. So one of the ways we make this information available is through our website, www.dagomo.com. And we also have newsletters, and I'm happy to inform us that we're going to be placing more emphasis on interacting with our various segments of our audience. First of all, being the older persons themselves. This year, early next year in February, we're going to be having a medical mission in Lagos, in Ebute Metta community to be specific. So we're going to be looking at the whole of that community, and we're going to be taking an integrated approach wherein we will integrate the youths with the elders. So studies have shown that beyond the age of 60, which is what is deemed as retirement age today, older persons are still very productive. They are economically productive, and they are an often untapped resource. That demographic is an often untapped resource. So we are going to be in Ebute Metta community, bringing health interventions, and not just the one-off health intervention. Health intervention has to be continuous, not just the one time when you have this intervention that a civil society brings. So we're going to be looking at it from a continuous perspective in partnership with like-minded organizations. We're also going to be looking how the youths can integrate with the elderly by way of offering some service for them, maybe household chores, whatever that might be, and to engender that value that from the older persons to the younger people and vice versa. And then also we're going to be looking at how we can create some economic empowerment for the youth also in that segment. So we encourage anybody who would like to join us to please let us know. You can offer your time, you can offer your resources. There's a lot to be done in that area. So I hope I have addressed that question. So looking at the chat box again, I'm trying to see if there are any other questions. So Orode Doherty says, I think the real barrier to embracing graceful aging is in the mind. That was not an option. That's absolutely right. It's in the mind, is in ageism, whether to yourself or to other people. So it's what you think, and that's very correct. So a lot of education and awareness creation has to be done around this. Thankfully, lots of studies show that there is still a lot that can be done beyond the age of 60, which we call the age of, which we call retirement age today. And a lot of work is being done to change that narrative. Also, intergenerational integration is a great idea, says Yinka Williams. That's absolutely correct. From Abdallah Ibrahim, he says, I am a family physician interested in geriatrics. He resides in Kano. How does he become a part of this foundation? This is fantastic. We will contact you, Abdallah. We do have, in the slide we showed about Dagomo, we have a national volunteer network, and we have presence in Kano. We actually have presence in all the 36 states, and we invite as many people who are interested to join us in volunteering. So the mission in Lagos is just a kickoff. We intend to replicate that, you know, in various stages, various states of the country, and we do need partners. So coming back to you, Rosalind, now, what would you recommend to us as individuals? What would be your one recommendation, if you had one or two tops, for us to change the narrative around aging, and for us as individuals to embrace healthy aging? What would be your recommendation?
Yeah, so what you know, we want would really want to do is to look at aging sector, or let's say older people, as individuals who have the same rights as anyone else. Meaning that then it would mean that
So, Rosalind, you seem to be having some technical issues. The screen is frozen. Okay, so I'm not quite sure if Rosalind is going to be able to join us again, but speaking to us as individuals around changing the narrative, one, for every one of us who has joined this session today, we hope that you have gained something that you can use in your day-to-day interactions with everyone in the society. If there's one thing that we would really like for you to remember, is that aging starts via life course. Yes, Rosalind, you're back. Okay, you were giving your screen was frozen for a bit.
Yeah, sorry.
Your screen was frozen. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that we would need to change the narrative around that when we are working or when we see older people, we are not looking at them as a place for us to do charity. That our older people have the same rights as a child, or as a woman, or as a youth, or as anybody. And we need to make sure that our government and our communities and our families are putting this into practice. And it's not just that thing of saying that we respect older people. When we say we respect older people, we need them to live with dignity and for them to have a well-being. And that can only happen if we are able to help them access their rights and entitlement. For instance, they must access quality, affordable healthcare system. They need to be considered in our employment conversation, because we still have older people who have capable skills that we are wasting. We need to ensure that where they need care, for instance, where they need reskilling, our education system is able to provide that as well, and they're able to modify. Where they need support around income access, the social protection should be able to put this in place. So we really need to ensure that we are looking at older people as human beings who have rights, and we need to modify our systems from the family level to the society, that is the institutions that are providing our rights, to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosalind. On that note, we will be wrapping up for today. It is now 11:02. How time flies. The video will be shared, the recording will be shared. May I invite Dan Ohimwe, Dagomo National Program Coordinator, to give the vote of thanks. Dan, are you ready?
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Park, for that very engaging time. So I wish it didn't end. I don't know, because that place we're just starting. But like they say, everything must come to an end. So I really want to appreciate Rosalind for taking our time to be with us today. Thank you so very much. I really enjoyed your session, and we hope to have more of you in the work we do. I also want to thank everyone for taking our time to come. I see a lot of the Blue Sisters. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Please, we want to see more of you. I want to thank our sister organizations, Restral. I can see Ogadima. I also want to thank our other sister organizations, CPP. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you, Abdullah, my brother from Kano. Thanks for joining. Meanwhile, I've been inviting you for all the webinars, but thank God you finally joined today. So thank you, Abdullah. Thank you. I may not know everybody by name, but thank you, Boston. Thank you, Chimobi. I can see you. Dame Susan Sholanke, thank you. Dayo Jalakun, thank you. Neka, thank you. Dr. Koswehi, thanks again. Folalaoye, thank you. We see your suggestions. Thank you. Fumi Hassan, thank you. Mrs. Fueko Karibi White, we are honored to have you. Thank you. Kende, Awonuga, Lola, Adeleye, thank you for joining. I think you are joining from the UK. Thank you very much. We appreciate this. Long John, thank you very much. Ngozi Obi, we see you. Nne Abasa, thank you. Olabisi, Durotoye, Olayinka, Olufemi Ingress, thank you. Dr. Rode, thank you. Patience Oluwatomiwa, thank you. Ruth Emenoye, thank you. Sandra Oyewole, thank you. Stella, Susan, Tinuade, Yinka, the two Yinkas, Yinka Williams from Kosrapin, thank you very much for joining from Lagos. Amolala Elizabeth, thank you. I think I've exhausted the list, and I must not fail to thank the people behind the scenes, Dagomo staff and volunteers who have joined. Thank you, all staff. Thank you, Joseph, for the ICT work. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you, Luke. Thank you, myself, Dan. Thank you very much, Mrs. Park, for this. It's very interesting. So I think I've exhausted the thanks, and we must also thank the Lord for making all this possible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there you have it. Dan has done an exhaustive job, even if I say so myself. Okay, everybody, we look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. We'll be sure to share the information in good time. So on that note, we'd like to bring this to a close, and thank you very, very much.
Yeah, okay, Mrs. Park, I think some people may want to, they might be interesting to know that some people want the videos. We normally do share them, and then your comments are actually being taken noted. I see a lot of comments and suggestions. We're going to answer them. We're going to take note of them. Thank you.